Foxy, perhaps the most beloved character in all of One Piece, bringing us a fan-favorite arc, as well as several wonderful non-canon arcs that I don't think I've ever seen. In all seriousness though, you might be thinking that he's just a nonsense character with a nonsense ability. Gonzalo seemed to think so at least. But I say nay. I thought about it way more than I probably should have instead of recording the video that was supposed to go up a few weeks ago and got pushed back because I didn't have time to finish it. And it makes a lot of sense, or at least more than I was expecting it to. It probably breaks down a bit when you start to think about it a bit deeper, but so does a 35-ton human with toothpick legs. I could go into depth on all of the really complicated classical physics that makes this happen, or the quantum physics models for the same phenomena, but I'm not sure I'll be able to do that in like a 6 to 10 minute video, especially not without everybody leaving. So I'm just going to try to give a broad overview. If you have more questions, I'm hoping that what I give you will let you ask the questions to the internet to find the answers you're looking for. Okay, so first, I think I should give you some, quantum mechanics terminology, the way I like to explain that. First of all, quantum, what does that mean? It's just the smallest division of something. Because in quantum mechanics, pretty much everything is discrete. Even though many units have a quantum when you're speaking on a classical scale, or bigger, the size of that quantum is negligible. It's pretty much nothing. And you'll probably hear quasi thrown around a lot. Now, what does that mean? I say it just means kinda sorta. You have a quasi-particle, it's a kinda sorta particle. It's not really a particle, but you can treat it as a particle. Quasi-momentum, it's kinda momentum. Kinda sorta, just change, whenever you hear quasi, just swap it out for kinda sorta and you're golden. Okay, so here we go. One possibility that I don't think anyone really thinks about is that it's not a special new particle. It could just be Higgs Boson. I'm really not going to go into depth about how it works. I don't really understand it myself fully. But in short, Higgs Boson, also known as the God particle, is a boson that imparts mass to other things. And so if you're moving and you suddenly get more mass, your inertia will cause you to slow. Gotta keep that momentum the same. More often though, you'll see it explained as some kind of fancy new quasi-particle with some relation to photons. Photons being the quasi-particle for light, if you weren't familiar. And they do seem to exhibit several properties of light. As you might know, light slows down when it enters a medium. And it slows down quite a bit. The speed of light in glass is something like 40% slower than in air or a vacuum. That's a result of the light interacting with the matter of the medium. In the classical explanation, you have the electromagnetic wave, which is what light is. It's just electromagnetic waves interacting with the electrons in the matter, causing them to make an electromagnetic wave themselves, which when added to the original light wave, results in a slower moving wave. On the quantum side, there are a few models or explanations. One being that the photon enters the material and forms a polariton, which has mass so it moves more slowly, just like with the Higgs boson case. Another is that in quantum mechanics, you're pretty much always talking about probability. And when that photon enters that material, there's a lot of things that can happen. So then the superposition of all of the possible paths then results in the path it effectively takes. That light is moving incredibly fast, so the electrons in the material are basically motionless to it. And the light itself has little momentum. So it's not going to really affect the matter much on the macro scale. But what if the photons in question had significant mass and were moving very slowly, like these Noro photons? Then the charged particles moving through the field of these Noro photons could interact with the Noro photons the way normal photons interact with matter. And now, instead of the matter slowing down the light slows down the matter. But why does it last 30 seconds? Why doesn't it just pass through and stop interacting when it does? Well, there could be a few explanations, but the one I really like ties back to those polaritons I mentioned before. I already mentioned polaritons, but there's another quasi-particle called a plasmon. Photons are the quasi-particle for optical or photo oscillations, and plasmons are the quasi-particle for plasma oscillations. Here, plasma basically being a cloud of electrons. This could be the result of an ionized cloud like you probably normally think when you hear the word plasma. But you remember what your high school chemistry teacher taught you metals were? You have a bunch of nuclei and a sea of electrons. That sea serves as the plasma here. Anyways, you can have polaritons in a dielectric. Dielectric being pretty much something that doesn't conduct electricity. So air works, plastic, silicon dioxide, or glass. And plasmons in a metal. You get them to match up at the interface, or surface, I guess, and boom! The quasi-particles couple, and you get a very creatively named surface plasmon polariton. So if those Noro photons made something like surface plasmon polaritons in or on whatever they ran into, those Noro photons would stick there forever. Or 30 seconds. Why 30 seconds and not forever though? Yes, they have substantial mass and are moving slowly, sure. But they don't have infinite mass. The interaction goes both ways, and as long as it's opposing the motion of the object it's affecting, it will be dissipating until poof, 30 seconds later. No more surface plasmon neuroma polariton. That last part was a bit pseudoscience-y, but it felt right. I mean, the whole thing was kind of pseudoscience-y, but at least I'm honest about that, right? I was going to go through all the math to figure out the energy and mass required, which is frankly an insane amount of energy for any notable amount of mass created, but then I realized it would be basically the same for literally any other matter created in devil fruitability. So why should this one not get free matter generation too? Not to mention the weird momentum stuff going on with the weight fruits.